let's cross to Simon McGregor Wood in central London. And Simon, it looks like there's a beach behind you.
Yeah, I have moved to the Cayman Islands. Well, in fact, not really. This is a protest by Oxfam and ActionAid. It's a mock-up of somewhere like the Cayman Islands, a mock-up of a tax haven, the focus of these two groups campaigning against secrecy and tax avoidance. And to have a more detailed discussion about the implications of this kind of practice, which we now understand is so widespread, I'm joined by Ojobo Atuluku, who is ActionAid's country spokesman for Nigeria. Nigerian yourself. Nigeria has been in the headlines a bit for some of the wrong reasons, vis-a-vis David Cameron's comments. But I was interested to understand, from your point of view, how corruption, the like of which we've seen in the newspapers in recent weeks, affects ordinary people in a country like Nigeria. Give me an impression.
Thank you, Simon. In fact, we did a research on the relationship between poverty and corruption. And we really found that the corruption that is happening is one of the reasons why we have the number of poor people in the country. You find that because people are corrupt, public resources are being siphoned out of the country. And so resources that should be applied to public services don't get to be used for those public services. So education services are poor, health services are poor, transportation services are poor. You name any public service, it's not working as it ought to be. It's not being delivered. And so people are not having access to services that they need for daily survival. There's no support for people in terms of how to meet their needs, how to enjoy their basic human rights. And this is all the result of corruption. And this corruption is facilitated by tax havens, which enable tax dodging. And meanwhile, tax has been identified as one of the most sustainable ways to finance development. Yeah.
Okay, that's a very clear connection between poverty in your country and the wider abuses of the world's financial systems and tax havens. President Buhari, new to the job, campaigning on anti-corruption and clean business. How do you rate his chances of changing the system at home, of cleaning up at home, and what help does he need from the international community to do the job?
I think President Buhari is actually starting the cause that he promised during his campaigns of tackling corruption, tackling security, focusing on the economy. And all these are also related. Now, we need global leaders, people like David Cameron, to also play their part, because there's a limit to how much President Buhari can do within the territorial jurisdiction of Nigeria. And what David Cameron can do is to work with those British companies that host the tax, that are hosted in tax havens, to put a stop to the tax havens, to make public the registers of owners of these shell companies, so that we can know who is behind them and how it is they're siphoning monies from their countries to the tax havens. And this is the other end of the job, that without this happening, President Buhari cannot succeed in what is leading the country towards. And he has the support of civil society in his fight against corruption. And so it's a national war against corruption. Much as we are doing what we can do within the country, we still need global leaders like David Cameron to also do their part in that campaign. And that's implementing a plan that sees an openness and transparency around who is behind the shell companies.
Ojobo, thank you very much. We've run out of time. But they're a clear explanation of how corruption affects a country, a developing nation like Nigeria. And regardless of the best efforts of those in Nigeria, we need the cooperation of people internationally to make it work. We'll see some fine words in the final declaration for sure, but what people like Ojobo and her country people need back home is those words to be turned into action. Back to you.
Well, Simon, for now, thank you.